Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Welcome back. As we are a relatively small group today, there has been a request to maybe, if people are so moved, to make this a little bit more of an intimate thing. If everyone were to maybe move up one from where they currently are, and that might involve moving the chairs up, but maybe if people in the second row wouldn't mind moving to the first row. If you are so moved, if you are not nested in your current place, I would like to do that so we can make this a little bit more of an intimate group. And if you're not so moved, that's fine too. Feel free to move the mats in the back if you'd like, push them to the side or double up. As is our tradition, we generally go around the room and introduce ourselves. And I personally like, when I'm facilitating, to slow us down a little bit. The names go so quickly. And if there is a word or phrase that has been coming up for you, or a word or phrase that you would like to share, then please feel free to share that. And if you'd like to pass, feel free to just say pass. And I'll start. My name is Peter Dell, and healing.
And Jim, pass.
Michael, pass. Gary, slow down.
Scott, spirulina.
George, peace. Kay Matsuda, relaxation.
Peter, pass. George, compassion.
Eric, pass.
I'm Howard DePort, drums.
Don Rupert, connection.
David, gratefulness.
My name is Ray Dyer, gratitude. Marty, present.
Clark.
Lee, impermanence.
Clint, Sangha.
Harley, carnival joy.
Dennis.
Pass.
Mascara.
Peter.
Esmeralda.
And if you guys would like to join as well, you are welcome.
Beck, this moment.
Megan, Hope.
And to jump on the person who just jumped in the room, would you like to introduce yourself?
Jim.
Great. Thank you very much. Today, I'm very pleased to have some representatives from the Larkin Street Youth Center, and Clint Sider is actually the main person who was our liaison. So I'm going to turn it over to Clint. We have Megan and Beck today, and so I'll turn it over to Clint to sort of say a little bit about what we do there and get a little intro. Yeah.
We'll trust you not to turn your heads. Just to give a very brief history of the project, about it must have been like about 15 years ago, which is incredible to think about. We started doing preparing a meal once a month. At that time, it was a Hamilton Family Center, which was a shelter for homeless families, and GBF would provide us with some money, and we planned a menu, and we cook it and present it to the people that were living there. The Hamilton Family Center closed about 3 years ago, so we had this project going. We had the team together. We all were very much enthusiastic about it. So we wanted to continue it, and fortunately, we were able to hook up with the Larkin Street Youth Center, and so we just continued what we were doing before. Once a month, we prepare a meal, and we go for the kind of the comfort food stuff, like the casseroles and the pasta dishes, and the side dishes and salads and cakes and pies and everything made from scratch. And it's been a real pleasure working with the Larkin Street residents. You get a lot of youthful energy. It's just really, you walk in there, you just feel like a really good sense of energy and something good is happening here. And so that's basically it. We've been doing this, like I said, for I guess about 3 years. It's been a joy working with the volunteers and doing this. And I want to particularly single out Kay Matsuda. What happened to him?
He's right in front of you.
Oh, I was looking more towards the back. Kay has been an incredible contribution to the group. He buys the groceries and he brings all the great supplies to help prepare the meal. So I just want to single him out. But I also acknowledge the efforts of the other people that have participated in this project. So I'll turn it over to our speakers now.
My name is Megan, and I have worked at Larkin Street for almost 4 years now. And just want to start by just saying thank you so much for what you bring to our community. For those of you who haven't been to the Larkin, that's where the meal that Clint is talking about is served every month. It's a 40-bed emergency shelter for 18 to 24-year-olds. They can stay there for a maximum of 120 nights, at which they start getting case management services while they're there with the hope of transitioning them into either transitional housing or independent living, whatever their goals may be. And it can be a really intense environment to be in. For the young people particularly. That's 40 people from all different walks of life in all various levels of crisis, various different states of mental health, different situations of substance use, and they are in close quarters and they don't have a lot of privacy. It's very dorm style, little twin beds next to each other. And it's hard. It's really a lot for anyone to be in that situation. And I think there's something really wonderful and powerful about them seeing people in the community care about them in the way that your group coming to the shelter shows them that. And that's more than even I can convey as a staff person who works there every day. The act of volunteering in this way and giving your time and wanting to be there, not even knowing who they are, where they're from, especially for many of them who have not had that experience with the most important adults in their lives. So you're strangers and you care about them and you want to break bread with them and you want to share yourselves with them. And many of them have not yet had that experience. So I know in one way it's like one meal a month, but in another way it's incredibly powerful and meaningful. Even as a staff person there, to see, the way that the young people talk about the meals, get excited about you coming, are aware of you, have something to look forward to, know when you'll be there, all of those kinds of things. And I think building that consistency and that stability, and even just something as simple as knowing that what day of the week you're going to be there, stuff like that, in really chaotic times can be especially grounding. So having said all that, thank you. If you haven't been, I encourage you to go. I think it's an incredible place, and working with these young people and getting to learn about them and have them share their stories is what's kept me there, for 4 years. It's incredibly rewarding to have the opportunity just to hear, to bear witness to what they're going through, and to be able to be a person to share that with them and be part of their lives in that way. So I can go ahead. I think the most, Beck can give the best testimony to his experience in particular, and kind of give you some understanding of what it looks like to go through Larkin Street. But I can give you a little bit of history. I think it's probably more meaningful to hear from him, but I can kind of give you a quick rundown. Larkin Street was started in 1984 in the Tenderloin area out of concern by community members, church, businesses, with the amount of young people engaging in the street economy there during that time. And so just they came together, they started talking about these services, and in 1987 the first drop-in center was open, and on its first day served 8 youth in that neighborhood. And it started like that, just a little storefront drop-in center. It has, our organization has grown tremendously over the past 25 years, and even in the 4 years that I've been there. We have 25 programs now at 13 different locations. So that's everything from emergency housing, medical clinic, drop-in centers, transitional housing. We've really grown. We've kind of become the leader in being able to provide those services for young people all the way across the board. Last year we served over 3,500 young people, and definitely the expectation for this year is that there's just more and more need. It's going to continue to grow. I personally work at our Employment and Education Center. It's called Higher Up. I've had a few different positions while I've been at Larkin Street, but I'm currently overseeing, we have an internship program that Beck actually graduated from, where we place young people in the community at different businesses, nonprofits, who are willing and interested in providing our young people 20 hours of work a week. We provide them a stipend for that work, and then I am able to provide some support around that, both to the supervisor and any issues that may come up working with our young people, and to the young people and whatever issues are going to come up for them in the workplace. So we have pretty comprehensive services as far as all of that goes. We have an outreach team. We have an HIV prevention department. So we do testing at our clinic, and then a lot of outreach. We go to other clinics and try to engage young people in conversation. We operate under a harm reduction model, which means non-judgment, client-centered. Tell me what you want, and let's see how we can get you there. And then as far as harm reduction goes, it's exactly what it sounds like, is let's see how we can make it a little less heavy or hard or dangerous than it is. But we definitely have found that our clients leading their own journey and identifying their own goals and telling us is much more effective than our coming in and saying, your life would be better if you did things this way. That's not practical or reasonable. I don't want to be told that. I know that, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And I'm going to hand it over to Beck, but I think Beck is an incredible example of what is possible. And I think I will say that while Larkin Street provided some structural possibilities for Beck, that Beck's story is uniquely Beck's. That this has everything to do with this young man and who he is and what he brings to his life. And I've told him this before, but mostly with Beck, and with all of kind of how I look at our clients, is it's really just bearing witness to their journey. There's not that much we do. Like we do, I can give referrals and I can give support and I can sit there, but nobody does the work except for the young person. So on that note, I'll let Beck talk a little bit.
So my name's Beck. It's been an interesting path for me. I came to Larkin Street about a year and a half ago. I couldn't live with my parents anymore, things were very difficult. My mother supported a family of 4 on minimum wage, and I decided I couldn't live the type of life that they were living anymore. Some friends brought me to Larkin Street, and I felt really comfortable right away. There was a staff person there who identified as genderqueer, and that made me feel very comfortable because I was going through my own experience, and I didn't have words or language to put to it to describe to people what was happening with me. But I had never felt right trying to be a girl. I had never been particularly feminine, and I could never live up to the expectations of how society says a girl is supposed to act. Through my time at Larkin Street, I ended up getting kicked out of the living situation that I had set up for myself when I first came to San Francisco, and went to their emergency shelter. It was hard for me at that point in time because I wasn't in a good state of mind. My thinking was driving me berserk. And there were a lot of people, as Megan said, and it was hard for me to handle. I had a lot of issues around violence, and there was a lot of yelling, and I'd driven myself to a point where if somebody even raised their voice in my presence, I would check out completely. I was here physically, but mentally I was gone. I was grateful for one thing about Larkin is that they always saw the innate health in me. They never looked at me as somebody who couldn't achieve anything. And when they were able to see the innate health in me, I came to them motivated. When they didn't treat me like I wasn't going to accomplish anything, I came to them and told them what I wanted to accomplish and asked them how at all they could help me and what I would need to do to receive that help. And I followed through, case management meeting after case management meeting. Larkin is one of those programs that can change your life, but only if you're willing to help yourself. They give you a hand up, not a hand out. I went through the transitional housing programs, and during that time, Larkin did something for me that really changed my life, because while they were helping my physical needs be met with transitional housing, they gave me an internship that changed my life. They gave me an internship that helped me work on my emotional, psychosocial aspect of things. And it was through that amalgamation of having my physical needs met to where I could focus on the psychosocial and the emotional in order to keep up the physical. Because I was unmotivated. I was apathetic. I didn't care if I lived or died. So why would I care about trying to maintain meeting the physical necessities of clothing, shelter, and food? At the internship, I was able to experience something that is so formless it's hard to put words to. But it helped me see past all my stories. It helped me see past my thinking and where that can get me. No thought is real. And when I was able to see that and drop my stories of other people, then I was able to project that love and kindness and joy onto others. And thinking still happens, but the difference today is that I'm able to, if an emotion arises about it, I'm able to sit there and see if it's true. And most of the time it's not. I stopped trying to be right and learned how to just be happy. And that's a huge difference for me because I was the person who always needed to be right. The only thing that I had in my entire life growing up was that I could prove that I was the most logical, could make the most sense, could justify anything, and prove I was right. And I was miserable. And it stopped feeling right to be miserable. I did so well at that internship because I started getting healthy. I started getting free, and I started getting motivated to take charge of my life. I decided I wanted my pink slip back. I realized that I was the one creating my reality. And if I was the one creating my reality, it was going to be a kick-ass reality. I did so well that my supervisor spoke to Larkin Street about extending my internship on the possibility of getting the education I would need to be certified. And today I'm a certified domestic violence facilitator for batterers intervention programs in the state of California. We are willing to work with victims and by all means help them from what they've been through. But it's really important to work with the offender, the batterer, because these are the people that go back into the communities. And if something isn't done, reoffend and hurt more people. And so we work with them to find their own health and be able to see through their thinking and where it's taking them. Because if they're there, most of them can see that their best thinking has gotten them in jail and gotten people they love really hurt, and that there has to be something better out there, and they just don't know what it is yet. While I was at Larkin Street, I also obtained my GED. I'm the first person in my family to ever go to college. I'm starting in fall. And they told me that that was going to be impossible because I had a learning disability, they told me. I hadn't learned to tie my shoes until I was 18 years old. They told me that I had no fine motor skills whatsoever, and that I would be lucky if I could ever live a life as a functional adult with the combination of physical issues that I had and the emotional state of mind I was in. I'm supposed to be locked up doing 10 to life right now, and I'm not. When I stopped listening to people telling me what I can and can't do and decided to just see what is, I found out that I can tie my shoes, I can go to college. It doesn't mean that some things don't take me a little bit longer time than others, but what's time? Time is also just thought. It's not real either. If I don't have a reference point of how long things take other people, then I just am. And this is what I'm doing and how long it takes me. I moved from the transitional housing program in February of my own free will. It's generally a 2-year program, but I had achieved such a point of health that I decided to take the savings that I built up with the transitional housing program. They charge you 30% of your income as rent, and then they give it back to you when you leave the program. And I had saved up just enough for a deposit on an apartment. So I decided to leave on early and give that space to someone else who was in more desperate need of it than I. And so I went from being homeless, emotional, suicidal wreck to living independently, having my GED, going on to college, facilitating batterers intervention groups, and watching my life change there and the lives of people around me change every single day. And I would not have had that opportunity if it wasn't for Larkin. And even if I had come across that opportunity, I wouldn't have been in a state to be able to keep it. Because when the physical needs aren't met, I'd be more concerned about finding my next meal than showing up and doing what I needed to do. And my emotional health wasn't even something that I knew was important to me. And Larkin was able to show me that by just seeing what was in me all along.
Thank you both so much. I had one brief question, and I'm sure that people also have other questions, but is Larkin Street specifically for LGBT youth, or it's open to all youth?
Any young person aged 12 to 24 can walk in today. Anybody who's under 25 fits our services.
And you mentioned that the housing, the emergency housing, is for 18 to 24 adults.
Yeah, so we have two separate shelters. One is for underage youth. That's our Diamond Youth Shelter that's being rebuilt right now. And then the Larkin is for overage youth. And then we do have a housing program that is LGBTQ specific called the Castro Youth Housing Initiative. That's also transitional housing and is similar to what Beck referred to as far as you get your own place, and then you're expected to pay 30% of your income towards rent, and then at the end of your 2 years there, you get that money back. And there's case management throughout that, so working on education and employment goals and all of that throughout that time. That's definitely there.
A few years ago, I looked into being in something called a mentor program.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the reason, and I was going to do it, and I accepted and all that sort of thing. And some difficulties took place in my life physically, and I just couldn't begin it. And so I haven't started it. It's still in the back of my mind. You still have that program?
Absolutely.
It might be interesting to know.
Yeah, so there's the volunteer, well, we have our general volunteer program, and then a component of that is the mentor program that's a little more, well, anybody who comes and volunteers can be placed at any of our programs. So you could be working at the drop-in center, playing ping pong, doing art, just hanging out, or helping with meals or whatever. And then specifically with the mentorship program, it's matching up a young person with an adult in the community. And that relationship, I think, is one that's really special and unique, and sort of what you get to build there. You're not a staff person. It's more than a volunteer. You really become a part of this person's life in a way. I know a lot of our mentors will, take our young people out to have a meal or to the movies, or sometimes a lot of times we get tickets to shows and performances and stuff like that, and just being part of their lives in that way as a caring adult, and being someone outside of the staff at Larkin Street to play a role in their life. And there is a kind of matching process involved in that, so that, the appropriate person, that it makes sense.
Well, explained to me at the time, maybe it was appropriate for me, that it wasn't necessarily something where I made a commitment to meet regularly or to do something, but to have a relationship, and it could be a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
You just call up, and it might be just we're going for a job interview, and I wanted to talk to you about that, or it could be like going out. It was very, it didn't necessarily imply a commitment once a week, and you have to be here at this time to do that.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah.
That's what's appealing to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think depending on the young person that you were partnered with, sort of what they would be looking for from that person would be different for each of them.
I think I'm going to have to do it again.
Yeah, I'm just curious how the economy has been affecting Larkin. I can see how it might affect them both as maybe there are less contributions to support it, and also maybe there's more people in need of the services.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're seeing. It doesn't make a lot of logical sense, but yeah, the funds get hit, and then we're seeing the amount of youth we're seeing is, and you can feel it actually. It's interesting, even on a day-to-day when sort of everything started happening with the economy, even the traffic in our, employment and education center from just a few months ago is the need is just much more, and what we have available is less, but we are we're staying afloat. I mean, fortunately, we have been around long enough, and we have built relationships with foundations and private funders and individuals that are really helping us to stay. We've had a few staff cuts, maybe 4 or 5 people, but looking towards the next year, so far what they're telling us at least is that we're gonna be able to keep doing what we've been doing. Up to this point, nothing's gonna get closed down or anything like that. There were contracts lost in all of this, so technically, like our outreach team shouldn't have even be able to exist right now, but there's other funding that we're able to support that with, and the same with, HIV prevention money was cut pretty significantly, so, it's our commitment as an agency that those aren't going to go anywhere. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a possibility. We cannot reach these youth if we don't have those things. So it is, doing a lot of fundraising and getting out in the community, and but so far we're okay. Yeah.
Can you say a bit about how the employment services works if someone had a job that they needed and contacted you?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as our employment services go, we have at Higher Up sort of a continuum of services within the program. We have a day labor program that's a 4-week program where young people can get started working as soon as they have an assessment done, and we start paying them. They get paid $6.75 an hour if they don't have a diploma or a GED, and $7.25 an hour if they do. We're trying to kind of model their what would be in the real world too, and that's a lot of really a lot of sort of community services work, doing graffiti abatement, picking up trash out in the community, painting the walls in the shelter, taking care of the shelter. I think it's a really good opportunity for them to kind of invest back in their own community with this incentive. So that's really our point of entry as far as our employment services go. That's a really good opportunity for the counselors there, their supervisors, to get a sense of where they're at, sort of what their goals are around their education and employment. And after that, we have a job readiness class, which is also a 4-week program where they get more into resumes and cover letters and interview skills and just preparing them for what they're going to need as far as those skills go. And then once they graduate from that, it's a lot of, hopefully at that point they kind of have some of the tools that they would need to fill out an application, be able to interview, have a nice resume, have a good cover letter, all of that. What's an opportunity is this internship program that Beck and I have been talking about. And so they're eligible once they've graduated from that job readiness class to participate in that. It's not for everyone. It's 20 hours a week. Larkin Street pays the stipend on that, so it's $8 an hour. We save 30%. So there's savings components in every program that we have, just in an attempt to do money management with everyone. And if it makes sense for the young person, if there's something in particular they want to learn about, or they don't have enough job experience yet to really be able to go out and find a job, or may need a little bit more of a supportive work environment where they need, want to be checking in with someone weekly, then that's a great fit for them. And then outside of that, we do our employment team does a lot of, trying to develop relationships in the community with people who would be interested in working with our youth. And then we do a lot of employment counseling and job retention counseling after that. That's kind of the way it looks. Yeah.
Do people call you about the jobs?
No. That would be lovely. Maybe someday.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Your name is Beck?
Yes.
Yeah. In my spiritual path and many spiritual and religious paths that I'm familiar with, service is a core part of all of them. And you're living that service. And I'm sure you'd be the first one to say, I don't remember hearing you say that you've received more you've received more than you've given. And I know that's true for me. And yet, in all the spiritual paths that I'm familiar with, when I talk about service, doing it quietly, without ego, really seems to be the key. So in my mind, and this is what I've just learned from you, even though it's more than one-sided, I debate whether to talk about what I'm doing, because it's not quiet service. It becomes ego-oriented at times when it goes over the line. And your presentation was so free of ego.
Thank you.
It was quiet, even though you were sharing a lot of your own personal issues and experiences and joys and pain. And that subtlety was so important for me to hear, that you can be quiet and yet not so quiet in a sense.
That's
and
because
still be very effective.
There's no me in this. How could I not, after the experiences that I've had, how can I not want to do whatever it takes and bring this to other people? By doing this presentation, I'm helping Larkin Street, my agency, and you guys help more people. So it's continuing the paying forward of love and compassion and caring.
Bingo.
You're a Buddhist, did you know that?
I actually was going to ask whether you have been following the Dharma yourself, because I'm new to the Dharma, and you just inspired me to keep going, keep going, keep going.
You know, I've heard of some of the basic principles of Buddhism. I'm not really deep into study of it, but there are just some things that just make sense.
Well, both of you, thank you so much for being here today, for offering the time, and back for your vulnerability, open heart, transparency with us this day. And first of all, I was just impressed with your intellect, and you're so articulate, and your thoughts flow so freely, and you articulate them with such clarity. So I just wanted to validate that.
I hadn't noticed.
Okay, man, yeah. Speaking really well. And I want to ask your permission for even more vulnerability.
Oh, there's no question that's off limits.
Well, this may just touch that one.
There's nothing that anyone could ask me that I'm uncomfortable with, and I look forward to somebody asking me something that I am, because that means that's some thinking that I haven't dealt with yet, that I wasn't aware of. So then I get to deal with that and become free of that as well.
Will you be our teacher every week? My question is this. Where are you at in your journey with your queer gender identity?
I've been on testosterone for 8 months now, and I'm saving up to get my top surgery. For those of you who aren't aware, that's a surgery that removes the breast tissue. I'm living stealth with my roommates right now, actually. They have no idea of how I was born at all. And most of the people that I interact with on a daily basis who didn't know me either early on or before my transition have not the slightest idea.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. Just one other comment was, each time I walk in there to help volunteer with providing a meal, we walk down these stairs, and there's anywhere from 5 to 10 young people walking around, and you got to traverse through the group and get to the kitchen in the back. And I think, as as you walk down the stairs, they all look at you and they think, oh, here comes the gay Buddhist. That's my projection. Oh, that's my shit. Is that an impact, the fact that we are gay and Buddhist, stir conversation, curiosity, interest?
Well, my experience may be different than some of the other clients. I can only speak for me, but for me, I actually wasn't aware at first that, because we have volunteers from lots of different organizations. It was only through my conversations with one of the people who was baking the cake that I found out that you were the gay Buddhists. And for me, that was beneficial, being that there is a portion of the community in the shelters that is LGBT. And so for me, it was a positive experience that I could have conversations about some of the things that I was experiencing and going through as far as that goes, that some of these youth aren't comfortable. I wasn't in a state of mind then where I was comfortable talking to the regular staff about it. I was having issues because I was identifying as genderqueer at that point in time, and they were making me stay in the girls' dorm. They said it was for safety reasons and blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that I can't see the wisdom in that, but it was a difficult thing in mind for me. And so to be able to be around positive queer-identified adults to set a good example was beneficial for me.
Well, this is just to both of you, in particular to Beck. When I came in this morning, I said, oh, young people, I've got to admit to some bias, what am I going to learn from them, et cetera, et cetera. But Beck, I was extremely impressed by your presentation. I've had a lot of people listen to a lot of people come here and done a lot of formal sitting, a lot of Buddhist this, a lot of Buddhist that. But your direct and personal experience by not identifying with thoughts as a reality and not identifying with your story and stepping out of that story, I found extremely impressive. More than many of the other senior, quote-unquote, Buddhist practitioners I've seen come here. So thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Any last questions or comments?
And somebody said, the value of the service, when you do get involved, actually you receive more than you get, and that is really true when I go to Larkin Street. Originally I just thought, it might be fun just to get together with other guys and cook up some meals and we'll have a good time, we chit-chat and whatever. But then the setting itself is very stimulating, to say the least. And over the past few years, we get to know some people. Maybe the young people there seems to be more comfortable talking to us, having a little bit of conversation, and so we start to feel a little more connected. And then made me realize all the very serious issues related to young people existing in our society and how that's evolving, how that's being dealt with. And so it really opened up a lot of windows to me, like intellectually, awareness of the problem and what needs to be done, all that sort of thing, and being appreciated. Some young people are very straightforward, expressing that appreciation when the meal turns good, and they're diplomatic when it's not. But anyway, so and again, I really enjoyed the experience, and again, thank you for coming out this morning to talk to us.
Thank you.
I'm sure there are lots of questions of how many of us are inspired to give more, I think. Is there a website? How can we either get, and I'll ask Clint also how we get more involved with this, but for Larkin Street, how do we do it?
There is a website generally, like if you just want to learn more, larkinstreetyouth.org. And then I would say more specifically, getting in touch with our volunteer program manager, who I think Clint is connected with, and Howard too, Liz. And she does sort of all the placement, and if you're interested in that mentor program in particular, or just knowing how to get involved, we have other, events and other things even outside of the, cooking meals and that I would encourage each of you, if you're interested, to get involved.
Is there information on the website about how to donate money also?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Absolutely.
And Clint, if I've had the pleasure of going to Larkin once, but how do we get involved?
Well, I'll tell you this. I just want to add one thing on top of what Kay said. I'm this middle-aged guy who hangs out with a bunch of other middle-aged people, and I think it's true for a lot of, if not most of the volunteers. So it's great to have young people in my life through doing this. You really do see things from a different perspective when you get that youthful energy there. So it's been a real delight to feed on that energy. As far as volunteering, just approach me. We do kind of like rotate the volunteers because we only need like a certain number of people. We have more volunteers than that. So it would be a matter of rotation. The good news is there's a very strong possibility we'll be doing this twice a month. And Bill Weber, if we can get this off the ground, would be meeting the other Saturday. So that would open up the opportunity to volunteer as well. But meanwhile, you can just give me your name and telephone number, and I'll put you on the volunteer list, and I'll get back to you.
And your information is on the handout and the addresses and stuff like that outside, right?
You mean the GBF?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can just post it after this.
You're kind of scary.
Well, I am a terrifying person.
Any other comments or questions for our guests, our teachers?
One of the most moving moments that I had in your whole presentation was your look at the lot.
Megan.
Senior moment.
Megan.
When you finished, you just looked at her with such love. Cheers to my eyes. Thank you so much. You are what we call a bodhisattva. And you're going to have to find out on your own what that means. That's not a bad word.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's time for announcements, and I know we have a host today.
I'm Cass, I'm your host today, so please, I want to say my heart really was open today. Thank you for opening my heart. So please stay and enjoy the fellowship of the Sangha. There's tea and refreshments. If you have tea, please wash your cup with hot soapy water. And there's a sign-up list. And beside this, I'll be coming around with a garment roll. If you feel so moved to contribute to the meeting expenses of the Sangha, $5 to $8 is suggested, whatever moves you. Some people gather together around 12:30 at the front door and go to lunch. It might be trouble finding a restaurant. And I think that's it.
And just one other plug, Clint, the funds from the Donna Bowl are used in part to fund Larkin. Is that right, for the groceries and whatnot?
Oh yeah, and GBF makes this possible. Every month they provide the money to buy the food. It is money. We plan the menus, we buy the food, and we prepare the dinners ourselves. It's all within our little group. But yeah, I owe GBF a debt of gratitude for helping me, and for actually making this possible.
So just think that money you're putting in the Donna Bowl is in part to Larkin's faith. So
absolutely.
Helping support that. Other announcements?
Yeah, in regards to next Sunday's presentation, you participated, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, in our strategy. If the program committee has a strategy, this was it. Next Sunday, our presenter will be the Donna Fairy. Donna is our word for service. And we wanted to invite you today as a physical manifestation of the service we provide as a Sangha, and kind of cultivate the soil for future opportunities for service from the Gay Buddhist Fellowship. And so next week, the Donna Fairy will be present as our teacher and anointer, and we will be identifying the present roles of service that exist in GBF, and we will be showing gratitude to those persons and their service, and then also opening up opportunities where more service can be offered that you can commit to, consider and commit to. And so next week, she will be here in full regalia, offering blessing and grace, and she will bring her mist, and mist the Sangha in gratitude for their work. The metaphor that came to mind for me clearly from your talk was a small pebble dropping into a large pond, and the impact of the ripples going out way beyond. I mean, I just had no idea that we've participated in such a spectacular story, such a spectacular story and journey. And so that's what our sense of Dana is. We're just a small pebble, but the impact is beyond our knowing and awareness. And so we're going to be creating more of those opportunities next Sunday. But doing a lot of celebration should be fun.
And you're welcome to come.
Thank you.
Other announcements? All right, if we can gather around for the dedication of marriage.
By the power and truth of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all never be separated from the sacred happiness which is without sorrow. And may all live in equanimity, without too much attachment or too much aversion, and live believing in the equality of all that lives.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.